Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show, guys. We have some breaking news. Trump has been targeted yet again. We knew this was going to happen. We knew this was coming of another assassination plot. So the Department of Justice has just charged Asif Merchant with ties to Iran. This is just really putting Trump in danger because right now there was an assassination attempt. All the news that we found out about it was that there was so much incompetency with the Secret Service, with the local police, the communication, that now more of these are coming up and Trump needs to be protected more than ever. We have Kamala Harris, who has chosen one of the most far-left running mates as her VP and literally snubbed Josh Shapiro, who they said was supposed to be the VP picked, but because of his Jewish background and anti-Semitism, that she chose somebody else. This is really breaking a lot of news. A lot of people are really upset. We have Dan Bongino, who literally destroys Kamala Harris and the Democrats because he's saying they're all working together over her VP pick, calling this is going to be a potential landslide for Trump because they're so far left. JD Vance is stirring up a lot of talk over the drug problems that we have in the U.S. border with fentanyl, with the drug cartels, and wants to go after Biden and Kamala Harris for allowing this to happen with their policies pertaining to the southern border. But just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Appreciate all your support. To those that are subscribed, thank you so much. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We want to serve you every day with the top news. And thank you to all of our members of our channel and those that give a super chat, they give a donation to the channel. We thank you so much. It is such a blessing to me and my family, and we just want to continue to bring you the best top news. So this is breaking news that just came across right here. This was updated just minutes ago. Trump assassination plot charge right here. So the U.S. Department of Justice has charged 46-year-old Asif Merchant, this guy right here. This is the person who they found that had a plot to try to take out Trump, that he has ties to Iran, that this is like literally, I mean, all this stuff, the details, the money that was involved, all of this, that he was just arrested last month. But as they are starting to figure more things out, the FBI is releasing news. We're starting to find out that there's more and more of these attempted assassination plots against former President Trump. And this is where the FBI is really getting involved. They're saying that they need to ramp up security. They're saying that, all the things that happened with the whole Butler, Pennsylvania cannot happen again, because with the released audio, they found out that there was no communication whatsoever. The the assassin, who is now dead, was seen almost an hour before all the things happened, everything that transpired at that rally. And they say they cannot allow this to happen again. Carl Meeks, member of the channel. What's up, buddy? Everybody give a shout out to Carl. So now that more of these things are starting to pop out, a lot of people are really upset. A lot of people on the right, the Republicans, are saying the Secret Service need to make sure that they stay in check, because we cannot have another shooting towards President Trump or anybody, but that this stuff is real. It's happening. People are trying to target him, and we need to make sure to protect our elected officials. Let me know what y'all think in the comments section. This is breaking news, and I wonder, though, we see so much different news on X than what we see on, the Fox, CNN, MSNBC. But guys, I want to bring y'all all the top news as it's happening, whether it's going to show up there or not. But these are images from where they found out. Look at all this money that was tied to what they were trying to pay him for. Undercover video of how he was plotting to try to assassinate Trump. This is huge. A lot of people are upset over it. Meta, Facebook, they took this image down right in the middle that you see. They tried to censor it, and they came back, they apologized. But right now, it just seems like a lot of people have it out for Trump. We need to protect him. We need to make sure he's safe, because a lot of people have said, well, if he gets into office, he's going to be very different with foreign policy compared to Biden or Kamala. And a lot of the world leaders around the world don't want that because they know that he won't stand for a lot of what's going on right now with the Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran, Hamas, that he would keep people in check. Even Trump said that that if he was in office, he'd be kicking China's butt right now. But because he said we have a weak leader with Biden, that's why we continuously are just not getting treated like we should be. So, to another attempted assassination plot charge, thankfully, that was caught by the Department of Justice, working with the FBI. So we got to make sure that they stay safe. So, on to the next breaking news, guys. So, Dan Bongino comes out and talks about how we may have a potential landslide now because of Kamala Harris's VP pick. This dude is very, very progressive. He put tampons in the boys' restrooms at the schools. He has allowed illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses. He has advocated for socialism, literally coming out of his mouth. Just crazy, crazy stuff. And also, too, if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button right there, we'll get some fireworks for the channel as we have this stream tonight. Let's go. Let's jump into this next video. Check this out.
The Democrats, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, are going to destroy the Democrat Party for a generation. They eliminated Mark Kelly, too. Mark Kelly, by the way, I don't like any of these guys. Let me just be clear. But Mark Kelly in the swing state of Arizona, who may have helped them, think the astronaut guy, he's still a radical leftist. Nope. They picked the BLM supporting tampons in the men's bathroom. Straight up communist, Tim Walz. By the way, a guy so milquetoast, he puts ICE to sleep. There is nothing this guy does for the ticket at all. Zero. I don't want to hear red wave talk. I'm not suggesting we're going to win in some landslide now. But this guy is a freaking gift. This is the only video you need to see, and I'm going to move on.
Let me know of your thoughts of Kamala Harris's VP pick in the comments, please.
You're going to see thousands of these things. Tampons guy, whatever. I get it. But this is the only video you need to...
Literally trending on #2 trending for X.com. Literally, formerly known as Twitter, is #TamponTim.
If you are a Venezuelan living in the state of Florida who escaped socialism, if you're Cuban in South Florida or elsewhere and you escape socialism, how does this make you feel that this guy is now on the ticket with Kamala Harris? Listen to him talking about socialism that's led to murder and torture. Check this out.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
No canoe. It's not neighborliness.
Nope.
Socialism is the theft of people's hard-earned property with their sweat equity was put in. It's also death, destruction, and gulags when you don't give up said property. Why do you think they have to build walls around socialist states to keep people in? Meanwhile, we have to build walls to keep people out. Walls. No pun intended.
So whenever we look at who they're choosing, it's the whole point. We've been hearing a lot about Kamala Harris backtracking everything that she said over the past 5 years to be more moderate. Because remember, she wanted to ban fracking. She wanted to ban like fossil fuels. She wanted to, no border policy. Just so much very, very left-leaning policies. And now she's been, over the past 5 days, the media has been trying to help her out to be more moderate. And then she goes and picks this dude, which to the point of this is that we don't know who's going to win the presidency, but we need to be as center as possible. We need to be able to take care of the Democrats and the Republicans because we're all Americans. But right now, a big thing that a lot of people are upset about is that Josh Shapiro, who is a Jewish man, got snubbed for the VP pick for the Democrats. Check it out.
Josh Shapiro speaking at Kamala Harris's rally, and Tim Walz is about to join her pretty soon. But We're going to now talk about how Harris gets accused of caving to the rabid anti-Semites in her party by going with Walz over that guy, Shapiro. Pro-Hamas loving Democrats have been pressuring Harris to not pick the popular Pennsylvania governor, who's Jewish, and even smearing him with names like Genocide Josh over his support of Israel. Naturally, the squad's thrilled that Shapiro got snubbed. Radical Ilhan Omar posting this photo praising Tim Walz. And Bowman and AOC are so excited they might pull the fire alarm together.
Who wrote that?
It's Walz, baby. Let's go. Tim Walz in the building. Time to win in November, y'all. Let's go. All hands on deck. No staying at home. Let's go.
I think he's a great pick. I do think that this selection of Walz is kind of to me, it feels like a watershed moment. It does feel like a generational shift.
Van Jones trying to make Democrats grapple with the fact that their party is full of anti-Semites. True.
You also have anti-Semitism that's gotten marbled into this party. You can be you're for the Palestinians without being an anti-Jewish bigot, but there are some anti-Jewish bigots out there. And there's some disquiet now, and there has to be. How much of what just happened is caving into some of these darker parts in the party? So that's going to have to get worked out. It's going to have to get talked through.
Greg, if Shapiro were not Jewish, would he have been chosen?
Yes. I can say that unequivocally without any data. It's got to be weird to be a Jewish liberal when it's an open discussion that your party has a faction within it that hates Jews. You know, imagine if a Republican Party, Trump wouldn't pick a Jew because he doesn't want to upset David Duke. You know, no one in the party would stand for that. In fact, there is no racial combat like that in the Republican Party that afflicts the Dems. And the reason for that is the bed you made with identity politics, which means that you're always choosing people based on groups and choosing, you know, based on traits. So a candidate could be unique like Josh Shapiro, but he's a member of a group that upsets another group. Not all of them, but as a group. See, if you see people as groups, then you just assume, oh, all Muslims must hate Shapiro because he's a Jew. That's how they're actually thinking. And so you're starting to think, well, then why did they choose Walz? If you're in the prism of identity politics, he's not a Jew, right? He's a white male. Maybe we'll get white males as a group. Well, that's a mistake because, you know, I don't think you're going to get that with him. We don't like arson, you know?
And not just white males.
Yes, we don't like snitches. As a white male, I don't like snitches. I don't like tampons in boys' bathrooms. You know, I don't like trans surgeries for kids. You know, just because he's a white male, he's an individual. I'm talking about Walz, not him. But you see my point. Everybody's an individual with their own traits. Democrats make the mistake as ascribing it to the group. And so then they have special traits. Doesn't work. That's why they're in trouble.
I agree with you. And I'll tell you why. There are Democrats in Congress who believe that is the reason he was not picked. Look, I said this in the
100%.
A block. Pennsylvania is a swing state. It's a must-win state for her if she's going to win the White House. 6 out of 10 people love Shapiro. Now, Representative Moskowitz, Wasserman Schultz, Auchincloss, they all say it's anti-Semitism. Why? Because Shapiro's position is not that different from other candidates who've been selected. And therefore, he was denied this because he is a Jew. So if his position, according to all...
Hey, Carl Meeks, thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Hey, everybody, get some love to Carl. Appreciate that, brother, so much.
These people in Congress is like other people in Congress, then he was denied it because of because he's a Jew. And the problem right now is, they are pleasing the Hamas end of the Democrat Party. And given that the squad is so supportive of this, it makes it clear what this is about. It's not about anything else. He is a moderate as it relates to Israel. And he's done that for apparently the last 20 years.
They didn't have a lot of chemistry. It's been reported when they had a meeting, Kamala and Josh. What do you think happened there?
Well, I don't think it's because she doesn't like Jews, because she's married to one. And there's a mezuzah on the outside of the Naval Observatory because of this Democratic administration.
So that makes it worse.
It's not.
Wow.
There are, no, I would never deny the fact that we have an anti-Semitism problem in the party. But there was more that complicated Josh Shapiro becoming the vice president than that. There was the chemistry issue. There was his support for school vouchers, which angered the teachers' unions. When all of the labor bosses gave interviews, they liked Tim Walz the best and Andy Bashir from Kentucky. I don't think that's because he's a Jew. I think it's because he wasn't as strong on labor issues. A majority of American Jews are Democrats. And Donald Trump has, I think he called Doug Emhoff a crappy Jew last week, that's hilarious. Jews find that hilarious.
It's funny.
It's not funny.
No, you know what it is.
You're going to
keep breaking down over the things that Trump says. That's what I'm saying is funny.
I have had meltdowns, and that was not one of them. But I want to say something about the Republican Party and Jews. If the Republican Party was such a safe space for them, why are there no Jewish Republican senators? There are 9. They're all Democrats, and Chuck Schumer is a Jew, and he's the leader of our party. There are 26 Congress people who are Jewish, and only 2 of them are Republicans. It's also the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, the Director of National Intelligence.
Have you ever heard of Stockholm Syndrome?
Hey, everybody, real quick, let's do something fun with the chat. If you're in the chat, if you can be in the chat, tell me where you're from. What state are you coming from? We're from the great state of Tennessee with the Tennessee Titans. I know they're not very good, but I still support them.
Yes.
Good. Case closed.
Now, please say what you were going to say.
I mean, look, who was out there making sure that Jewish kids could get into their classes?
Yeah.
I mean, who was out there moving?
Donald Trump had dinner with Nick Fuentes. Don't give me this.
No, you don't give me this. Okay.
And
here's the bottom line.
I give you whatever I want.
Judge
Who moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to
Listen.
Jerusalem when Obama said
So
he
are
would,
we just
Clinton
a
said he
bunch
would,
of
Who
Bush
has
said he
Jewish
would?
grandkids,
Come on.
Jessica?
Against his will.
He does.
Yeah.
He
Who
does,
converted to
Jessica.
Judaism?
His daughter?
Yes.
Yes.
If she case closed,
Case
she
closed.
doesn't want to have anything to do with him. She doesn't. They don't want to be
Oh,
the.
come on. It's
Oh,
not
come
about
on.
that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know the Trumps?
I do not have the Trump
you
hotline.
don't know. So
No, but I know
don't
that
say,
Ivanka
don't
and Jared-
presume that you know.
Okay.
Because you don't, period.
Okay, well, all the Jewish Americans that vote for Democrats are idiots to you guys. Is that correct?
You said it.
Okay.
I'm asking for
I think you
confirmation.
should take it back, but you said it.
Wow, guys, that got heated. So, guys, I love it. We got Pittsburgh Steelers. We got people from Pittsburgh, Montana, New Hampshire, Missouri, Georgia, Texas, baby, Pennsylvania. I love it, guys. I love YouTube because we can all come together, have a good time, check out the top news, commentate on it, and all enjoy each other in the chat. Y'all are so awesome. Appreciate all the support. Carl Meeks, appreciate you for the super chat, brother. So right now, it doesn't matter the facts are the facts that a lot of the Democrats have a problem with Israel right now, with Palestine, and them not having a state, and that's why their party is divided when it comes to, and they're saying there's a lot of anti-Semitism within it. Josie, member of the channel, let's go in the chat. So check this out, because the more that we see from the Democratic side, it's just like they keep getting more progressive, and I don't think that's the majority of America. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Check this out.
All right. He's a riot. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, so much for Kamala's pivot to the middle. Remember that? Well, today, the Democrat cabal, as Speaker McCarthy just said, doubled down on radicalism. Now, since we all know that Harris wouldn't win one state other than maybe Minnesota in a real Democrat primary, maybe Kamala's Tim Walz pick makes sense. But last year, as inflation was crushing Minnesota families, this was Tim's priority.
We want every Minnesotan to grow up feeling safe, valued, protected, celebrated, and free to exist as their authentic versions of themselves. Protecting and supporting access to gender-affirming health care is essential to being a welcoming and supportive state to the community.
I have people in my DMs who are saying, you better do this because we're moving already to Minnesota because we don't know where to go.
Yes, Kamala Harris's running mate believes kids who are too young to get a drink at a bar are mature enough to have their genitals mutilated by a twisted surgeon.
Yeah, that's crazy. How is it that you can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't even get a tattoo, but yet they feel like these kids are able to make life-altering decisions to their bodies? Can't even get a tattoo, but you can make a life-altering decision to your body. It makes no sense, and it's ridiculous, and we need some fixing when it comes to their thoughts on that.
But, as they're calling him, Tampon Tim insists that the real evil exists in other states that ban the barbarism.
Students who are understanding are trying to understand who they are as their gender identity is being developed. They are most at risk. We're there to protect children. We're there to have you understand that in Minnesota you're going to be protected. Protecting and supporting access to gender-affirming health care is essential. We know this urgency is real, thus the need of an executive order today.
Wow. Well, the only thing worse than a San Francisco liberal trying to vibe her way past her record is a Minnesota liberal trying to rebrand his.
Tim Walz, I know very well. He served in the House. To characterize him as left is so unreal. It's just not what the question. He's right down the middle.
Are you even kidding me? Look how Nancy Pelosi can blatantly lie, keep a straight face, which is probably full of Botox or something. That's why, look at her eyebrows. It's just she's got some issues. But to blatantly lie and gaslight people, he is not center whatsoever.
A heartland of America Democrat.
Yeah, he's more in the middle than France and England, countries that have banned gender-affirming care, so-called. Well, the heartland by birth, but Haight-Ashbury by his record, Tim Walz, this isn't flying. The far left is jubilant tonight. He's Bernie Sanders, but with a National Guard stint and a few decades younger. Progressives unleashed a furious pressure campaign over the past few weeks. I'm not sure if you noticed, but it was rooted in this vague whiffs of anti-Semitism. To kill Josh Shapiro's chances of getting the nod, you had to bow down to the progressives. This is deeply disturbing, and we're going to dig into this more in a few moments. And remember, if the squad is happy and they are ecstatic that Walz is the choice, you should grab your children and watch your wallet. Because if Harris and he end up in power, you're going to need to do a lot more to protect both. Because for Governor Walz, being a socialist just means being a good neighbor.
Don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Just do the damn work.
Wow.
If America hoped that Kamala Harris's running mate was going to temper her far-left instincts and maybe even reassure an anxious nation, you might remember how things looked over Memorial Day weekend 2020 in Minneapolis. The aftermath of the George Floyd shooting did hundreds of millions of dollars of damage to the city. And instead of taking charge, Governor Walz at the time essentially empathized with the rioters.
We saw large, peaceful protests focusing on the systemic changes that get to the heart of why we're in this situation. And when I say we, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the state of Minnesota, nationally, and as we've seen over the last 24 hours, internationally. A society that does not put equity and inclusion at the center of it is certainly going to eventually come to the places where we're at.
When they were taking over and then burning parts of the liquor store, destroying a small business, was that part of the DEI, failures of the country? But his failure to lead and call in the National Guard earlier allowed neighborhoods and small businesses to burn.
My husband was asleep, and I went and woke him up. I go, "You need to wake up now." I go, "Town Talk's going to burn down any minute." And we sat there and watched it just melt to the ground, all our hard work.
It started with people with bats entering, people pushing on the front windows, and then hundreds of people went in and they looted, not for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, and then they came back the next night and the next night, 6 fires, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the Ingraham angle was on the scene doing that reporting year after year. That was just a few months after the riots. And as for that third police precinct right down the road, it was burned by the rioters and is still abandoned.
Thoughts looking at the old 3rd Police Precinct building 3 years after the riots?
It brings back a lot of bad memories for certainly myself, but also obviously the police officers that once worked out of this facility. So it's just sad.
The most sad part is that this dude called this peaceful protest. There was nothing peaceful about this. The hundreds of millions of dollars that was lost from hardworking people in their community. Like, I don't get it. It's one thing to protest. It's one thing to burn your community down and then just expect somebody else to pay for it, because who cares? You know, it's not yours. You just want to steal and take because you feel like you're owed that. Entitlement is not right, and what happened is not right. And what's not right is that this dude did not come and say, this should never have happened. This cannot be allowed to happen. This was not peaceful protest. We need law and order when it comes to changing the system if there is any issues, but that rioting was not right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, please.
Here we are 3 years later, and literally nothing has changed. The activists and some of the city council members, who are also activists themselves, considered a victory not to have police in the precinct because some of the city council don't want police to begin with.
Don't want police to begin with. But wait a second, we got to be fair tonight. What about Governor Walz's great policing reforms? How are those working out?
Harris says his department is short more than 200 officers.
You've lost 40% of your force in the past 4 years. That sounds like a big problem.
It is incredible. It's not just that we lost 40% of the force. They've been facing the highest levels of crime and violence in some categories that the city has ever seen.
Walz has helped tank law enforcement in his state, and he's on his way to tanking education as well. You heard a lot tonight about his experience as a public school teacher, and that sounds lovely. But he's forgotten whatever sense he learned, and now it's all DEI all the time.
We can't find a teacher that looks like the kids they're teaching. You don't need another one that looks like me. You need somebody who's in there. All the research shows that.
All the research? Oh, really? Well, I want to see that research. Naturally, with this loopy focus of his, Minnesota's just going in the wrong direction. In its national education ranking, it's dropped now to number 19. But let's look at the bright side. At least the boys can use the girls' bathrooms and get free tampons. Isn't he a...
Guys, I get so upset whenever I see some of this. I see the people that are supposed to protect us, who are supposed to stand like Biden and Kamala Harris, who are supposed to make sure that Americans are taken care of, to make sure that our families are taken care of, our streets, our cities are taken care of. And whenever they do policies or they have these thoughts and they just carry out things in a way where they don't protect us and they're not held accountable to that, to me, it's literally like being spit in the face. What you're about to see it's heartbreaking, but it's the truth, and we need to see it. Because if this is not out there, and this is where we need to share this type of stuff. If you don't mind sharing my video and things like that. Because when people see these real life stories, you see what's actually happening because of these horrible policies by the Biden and Harris administration. Check it out.
It's tough not to admire the courage of the two families behind me, but I have to ask, why is it necessary? Why are they suffering? And the answer is because we have a leadership that is failing them. People who have lost loved ones just in the last few weeks to gun violence because we won't lock up violent criminals in this country anymore, thanks to the policies of Kamala Harris. You've got children who have been orphaned, who have been bouncing around foster homes because Kamala Harris's policies allow this terrible fentanyl into our country that orphan these poor kids. And you've got parents who have lost loved ones, who have lost children because we keep on allowing the Mexican drug cartels to turn our country into a drug trafficking zone. It is normal people who suffer when Kamala Harris refuses to do her job, and it is normal people who stand to benefit the most when we re-elect Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. And that's what we're going to do, right? That's exactly what we're going to do. So I want to make sure I get these names right, but I want to thank Dave Torres for being here. Great American. Amanda Navarro is here with us. We've got Jack Kilkus and we've got Terry Stark. Again, these are people whose loved ones have suffered and in some cases died because Kamala Harris doesn't do her job. And I want to invite a few people up to just give some personal testimony. And before I do, I want to say what amazing personal courage it takes to be here and to be willing to offer your personal story. I know it's not easy, and I know this is sad, heart-wrenching stuff, but the American people need to understand what are the consequences of screwing up this election. And so I appreciate you all being here very much. So first, I want to start with Denise and Mike Trask. Trask, you guys want to come up here? Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you for having us today. Our daughter Jacqueline is the oldest of our 5 children. Jack was always a fearless, free spirit who was full of adventure and sometimes mischief. I'm proud to selfishly boast that we've raised our kids with good morals, values, and kind hearts. We are a God-loving and God-fearing family that never would have imagined we'd go through the devastation and torment of addiction. Yet here it was, directly impacting our lives. It crept right under our front door into our home and had no regard that our baby was a good girl, that our family was a grateful and prayerful unit, or even that my own husband was a Philadelphia narcotics officer. We learned fast that addiction knows no race, no religion, no economic status, and has no limits. It was devastating to endure, the most helpless thing imaginable as her parents. We tried any and everything possible. After a few years of complete hell, Jack reached her bottom. She admitted herself into an amazing program called FRAT, First Responders Addiction Treatment, at the Livingren Foundation. Jacqueline was an EMT. She got herself clean and sober, and we got our daughter back. She lived 2 beautiful years in sobriety and shared her story at numerous meetings in and around Philadelphia. She touched people when she spoke. If you were blessed to be in her company, you'd never forget her. Her heart was gold and fair and never critical. Life was amazing once again for Jack and for our family. That is until May 1st, 2016, when she had a lapse in judgment, when she had an awful trigger, and when she had tunnel vision of only one thing, and bought herself a bag of heroin that of course was laced with fentanyl.
Wow.
And our 26-year-old daughter died of an accidental overdose in her car, in a mall parking lot, in broad daylight, alone. We like to think of Jack's passing as God's way of relieving her from her pain. It helps us cope with our constant heartache and great loss. We imagine that he saw how broken she was and that he freed her from the struggles she was battling with.
Wow.
He took her home with him, and one day we will all be reunited.
Oh.
Of people every day. It's tremendously deadly, and we're losing our loved ones at an alarming rate because of its potency and infestation into the illegal drug market. The border travesty that this current administration has neglected, allowed, and even supported is infuriating and, quite frankly, complete lunacy on multiple levels. I pray we get ahead of it. I pray our borders are secured once again. I pray for all those affected by addiction and all of its ugliness. I pray it never touches my other children who work every day as public servants for this city as a police.
Sorry, y'all. I don't know why it's There's a couple of parts. What's so sad is that on day one, Biden stopped the border wall from being built. Now, of course, thanks to Attorney General, they're going to finish it because the court is ordering the Biden administration to finish the border. But what's sad is that they chose to stop building the border. They chose to basically say, come on in. And they've chose to not send the National Guard to go down there and protect the United States border. They've just let them all in. And there's so much drug trafficking. There's so much human trafficking. There's so much bad that's gone on over the past 3.5 years because the Biden administration would not do what is right to protect the American people. There's been people that have lost their lives, families that have lost loved ones because they couldn't do their dang job. And the only reason we're getting the border built is because they're being court ordered. How sad is that? This is the type of news that people need to know. We need to spread so that we don't re-elect the same incompetent people again into office that are not going to put Americans first. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section.
Yeah, Larry, I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, Kamala doubled down on the far left of her own party. If you think about the Hamas caucus, they really didn't want her to pick Josh Shapiro. They wanted her to pick Tim Walz. If you think about the people who want to ban fracking, they wanted Tim Walz. The people who want to defund the police, they wanted Tim Walz. The people who want to open the border, they wanted Tim Walz.
All right. There you have it. Just a few minutes ago, we spoke to Senator Vance. Joining us now on set, Mark Simone, WR Hall of Fame radio host, and Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, author of Progressively Worse, Why Today's Democrats Ain't Your Daddy's Donkeys. One reason they're not is a socialist from Vermont picked the ticket. It was a Bernie Sanders ticket. He was very much for Kamala Harris, and he apparently, according to reports, did not want Josh Shapiro, a moderate of Pennsylvania, did not want Mark Kelly, who was sort of a crypto moderate of Arizona. He wanted this Tim Walz, what's his name, Governor Walz, who has a very left-wing spend and tax, etc. record. And you heard the Hamas wing of the party. Okay, that may be an exaggeration, but banned fracking, got the highest corporate tax rate. What do you think, Joe? Surprised at this?
Baseball analogy, it's the fifth inning. Bernie Sanders, even at his age, 2 for 2.
I know.
Look, that sound you hear, if you listen real close, are the champagne corks flying across Mar-a-Lago right now for all the reasons that you just listed. They got the exact opponent that they wanted because they wanted no part of Josh Shapiro. 61% approval rating in Pennsylvania, which is basically a 50-50 state. And with Tim Walz, those images, that video from the Summer of Love 2020, those not so peaceful protests, where you had whole blocks burned to the ground, $500 million in damage, 1,500 buildings either destroyed or damaged. The police station looked like the Nakatomi Plaza at the end of Die Hard. They burned that to the ground as well. And then go back and listen to an interview that Kamala Harris did with Stephen Colbert on CBS, where she said, these aren't going to stop. She cheered this on while Tim Walz, I'll give you a Senate report out of Minnesota, the Minnesota Senate report, October 2020, quote, Governor Walz had the ability and duty to use force and law enforcement to stop criminal violence, but he did not, unquote. That's from his own state Senate. He's got to run against this record now? No thanks.
So with this, Mark Simone, I don't understand this. What he said last week, the white dude's Zoom call, okay, it's utter nonsense, but one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. What does that mean? I have neighbors, they're not socialists. What is he talking about? Or is he just sort of freely saying, I am a socialist, and there's nothing wrong with it?
Yes, he's saying socialism is being neighborly. This guy is Saul Alinsky meets Bernie Sanders. Donald Trump just tweeted 2 words, thank you. Just put that up with an exclamation point. I don't like conspiracy theories. I'm starting to think there's a saboteur running this. They put Joe Biden in a debate where he's going to get wiped out. They had her pick the worst possible choice. People are going to start to realize they're going to get hurt here badly. It's going to cost you a lot of money if these two get elected. Your bank book, your pocket has already been killed by this administration. This will be painful. It'll cost Americans a lot of money if they get elected.
Now, I know it's a little more boring than burning down Minneapolis and contributing to Black Lives Matter, which Kamala did in one way or form and the other.
She ran a bail fund.
Bail fund for them.
Those who got out from it actually hurt people.
But it also turns out, I mean, after all, we're a business economics show. This guy, Walz, has a very liberal left. He's a spender. He's a taxer. The state of Minnesota has the highest corporate tax rate in the United States. Wow. Corporate tax is arguably the most important tax there is, because if you help business, that's how wage workers
100%.
Get paid. And as my friend Jim Cramer said, you know, if you're looking for higher wages, vote for Trump. And I think Cramer's got that exactly right. I mean, the guy is very far left. That's what there's no question about that. How does that possibly, in other words, I'm asking, what's the calculus politically? Why would she, except for Bernie Sanders and the pressure from the left, why would she have gone with the most left-wing guy?
Usually the goal is to go to the center during the election, then govern back to the left if you're a Democrat. And that's all she had to do here by choosing Shapiro. And again, choosing those on presidential slates out of the state of Minnesota hasn't been a good idea in the past, right? Hubert Humphrey, 1968, won 13 states. Walter Mondale won exactly one state against your old boss, Ronald Reagan. And then you think about, does winner really work with Minnesota in general? When you consider that their football team and the Vikings has never won a Super Bowl. When you consider that two of their hockey teams have never won a Stanley Cup. And the Twins haven't won a World Series in 33 years. I'm just saying, you don't think winner when you think Minnesota, which is a lovely state.
It's a lovely state, and it's a fine city, even though it's overtaxed to death. Mark Simone, I asked J.D. Vance at the end, he's got a good platform, lower taxes, lower regulations, drill, baby, drill, helping business. One side likes businesses, which hire workers and give them paychecks. The other side of the Democrats don't like business and wants to tax and regulate them to death and reduce their paychecks. Question to you, is Mr. Trump off message in the last week or so? I'm including Georgia in this. A lot of people they don't understand why I went and attacked the governor of Georgia. Once again, it seemed very personal. Is there a risk that all the good vibes coming out of the fabulous Milwaukee convention, which probably knocked Joe Biden out and caused a panic among Democrats, has that been lost in your judgment, honest judgment?
The truth is, anytime he does a rally, an hour and a half, anytime even the Black Journalist Convention, an hour, it's 57 minutes of policy, substance, issues. For 3 minutes in there, he does his Imus routine where he wisecracks, insults. 3 minutes out of the hour. They just never cover the other part.
The Georgia thing wasn't important.
99.9% of that was substance and issues. Right. He's always going to make those.
Chicago, we talked about this, I think. The black journalist in Chicago was, I thought, brilliant messaging by him. So when was that? That was only a week ago. So that was very brilliant messaging. Georgia raised some alarms. Now, I know there are some editorial pages, even on the conservative side, that want to nick him to death, okay? But you're saying it doesn't matter.
In the end, it won't matter. This is 2016 all over again. He did that back then, the John McCain comment, all those jokes, those wisecracks. It didn't hurt him in the end. In the end, it came down to the border, crime, the economy. People will vote for their own interests, and they're not going to decide based on that.
They're not going to vote for Veep. The Veep thing here just reinforces how far left the Democrats are. I think that's one point. But I think also, Joe, if the economy and the threat of recession comes back as a central casting issue, which it may, including a stock market crashing, you got to go with the team that you think is going to help your finances and your economy and your job and your paycheck. I just can't imagine how Kamala and Walz can be that team.
Remember 2008, early September, John McCain had a slight lead over Barack Obama, and then the crash happened, and then how could you possibly vote for the Republican ticket, right? I think immigration's so huge here, and that's the point that Trump needs to hammer home.
100%.
Tim Walz was being interviewed, CNN, Anderson Cooper, 2019 during the Trump administration, and he actually said this. He says, I want to invest in a ladder company so I can help migrants get over Trump's border wall and enter the country illegally. I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly what he was implying. And those are comments that, again, the Trump campaign should just be playing on a loop in ads all across the country, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, especially, and Arizona.
How come Sherrod Brown and John Tester, Democrats up for re-election in Ohio and Montana, they're not even going to the Democratic National Committee convention in Chicago, Mark? Why is that? They're going to miss a tremendous party, aren't they? Or maybe not.
I don't think they want to get caught in the riots and the protests outside. I think that's the problem.
I mean, you think people are going to desert the party? Are they going to desert the ticket?
Yeah. Now, remember, she hasn't spoken yet in interviews. People haven't heard her talk on issues. She's going to have a problem. She hasn't been presidential. What happened with the economy the other day? Why didn't she address the nation, look presidential?
That's right.
Say something.
All right, one last one. We're over time. Producers are screaming at me. But there's a little clever little thing about whether Kamala is really a woke-oriented politician. Take a listen to this, please.
We have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Joe, are you the wokest or the woker?
I'm the wokey, maybe? Woker? I don't even know what you just said. But it's the laughter. When no one else is laughing, that is quite disconcerting. We'll put it that.
They said that anytime she's laughs, if she makes a statement and then she laughs, it means she's lying. Let me know what you think, chat.
Right here. We are in early August. Mark Simone, who's going to be the next president?
Trump easily. The worst thing that happened to Kamala was peaking at the end of July. You want to do that at the end of October.
Trump going to carry New Jersey?
And New York.
Is he going to carry New York too?
Carry both.
Seriously?
Carry both. Democrats never...
I'm just trying to focus on you. Joe's got some interesting facial expressions.
California Democrats never do well outside of California. They've only run in that one-party state.
You think Kamala and Walz will carry Minnesota?
Yeah,
you'll carry Minnesota. Well, I just wanted to check that.
And it won't matter.
Right. And so whenever we look at, today's been some crazy breaking news day. We've had another Trump assassination plot that thankfully was stopped because they want to take him out. Trump is a bulldog. Whenever he was the president, all the countries around the world didn't mess with the United States. We had no new wars. We had a great, foreign policy. We had a great economy, and they don't want that. They want to get somebody that's weak that won't stand up to them. Think about it. Since Biden has been president, and remember, if Kamala wins, she's just going to be a continuation of his policies. Since Biden's been president, we've had over 11 million illegals come into the country. We've even flown some of those in. We've had Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran. We've had inflation. We've had the national debt has now creeped over $35 trillion. We overspent when we didn't need to. And now we're just in a cluster. And they've already kicked Biden to the side. Nobody's even talking about Biden anymore. It's like, who's Biden? He doesn't even show up on the news whatsoever. It's all Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. And now she's got her VP, which he's more left than I think she is. What he's done in his state has been ridiculous. With the 2020 riots and not coming out and condemning those, we need strong leadership. We need people that are going to get in office, make sure Americans are taken care of, and that's the way that it should be. If you're an American, you should want America to be first. If you're from Israel, you should want Israel to be first. Or if you're from Iran, you should want Iran. It only makes sense. So whenever I hear people that are like, no, we can't be, no, yes, that's what it means to be patriotic. It's what it means to be a citizen of these United States, and we need somebody with a strong backbone in the Oval Office. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Just want to say thank you to all of the subscribers. Thank you to those. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We want to serve you every day with the top news. And thank you to everybody that has liked the video. And if you haven't, please give us a like right there. It really helps to grow the channel. We'll get some fireworks for a great show. Also, thank you to everybody that's given a super chat on this for us, giving us a donation to the channel, guys. It really means so much to us. It's a blessing to me and my family. We just want to continue to serve you every single day. We appreciate you, we love you, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.